Big data. It was interesting listening to Aiden this morning and talking about data and all the information that's being collected and what do we do with it. And we're getting more and more and more. And some of this slide will relate to some other things I'm going to talk about in a moment. And your eyes are going to glaze over. This is like you're collecting so much data on your farm and you're like, what do I do with it? I think Ohio State figured that 1 ear of corn is a gigabit of data over the course of a year if you pay attention to everything, visual and all and sensor data and all that. That's a lot. You don't have to deal with it. If you work with a partner you trust and share that information, you can get value out of that. But the companies are collecting that information in new ways too, satellite data, their own sensors, and other information, and it's helping them do their jobs in new ways. And I guess you say to yourself, one thing about big data allows me to ask questions I couldn't ask before. Or I'd ask a question and maybe I couldn't find an answer, and this is this. If you're using fungicide in corn, we know that some hybrids react differently to fungicide in corn than other hybrids. But which ones? Which fungicides? Big data is working toward answering that question so that someday pick your brand, seed dealer, because I don't want to show favorites, will come to you and say, listen, we've identified these 4 hybrids in your growth zone on your soil type that will work for your farm. But we've also identified that these fungicides are the better choices, or these herbicides are the better choices, or this is the better insecticide, so that you don't cut yield. You saw what David Hewlett announced this week, 623 bushel corn. In the early days, Tom Beckman from Indiana Prairie Farmer and I would have this conversation. A bag of seed starts in the field and had at least a 600 to 700 bushel yield potential. And people were like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. Well, I'd like you to talk to David at Commodity Classic and find out about that, because apparently it does. But when you get back to that, he's asking questions, and this big data will help everybody ask the same questions to figure out how to protect the yield that's already genetically in the crop that you're raising.